South Carolina Democrats head to the polls, where Joe Biden is expected to notch a massive victory in the state. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video today. It is time to talk about the 2024 Democrat presidential primary. As most of you probably know, the South Carolina primary, at least on the Democrat side, is finally here. And let's face it, Joe Biden is gonna win this primary by quite a bit. I mean, there's a reason why the schedule had South Carolina as first. This is the state that Joe Biden, on the Democrat side, is very strong in. So, despite the primary challengers from Dean Phillips, despite serious questions about, hey, can Biden even win this November? He is going to win the South Carolina primary by quite a bit. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Now, with it being an election night stream, we will, of course, be going live at 6:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the top right corner, you'll see a link to the stream. Click it, you'll be sent to the streaming page. Click the notification button, share with your friends, like the stream, all that good stuff. Alright, enough promotion stuff. Let's get right into it, because I do want to have one final deep dive into the South Carolina primary, because, hey, this is going to be the first real sign of, does Biden have any kind of real weakness? I know he did, for an incumbent, horrible in New Hampshire, but that was kind of expected, and let's face it, he wasn't on the ballot. I know there's a lot of people coping about that, but he still wasn't on the ballot, and I know his name is simple, it's just Joe Biden, but it wasn't a fair comparison. But South Carolina should be his strong state. This is the state that got him the nomination back in 2020. And if he doesn't do good here, yeah, he has a big problem. But let's get right into it. Joe Biden's glide path to the Democratic presidential nomination begins Saturday as South Carolina, the state that rescued his struggling campaign 4 years ago, kicks off the party's official primary season. So, I know, you're going to say, but New Hampshire was before this. Well, New Hampshire wasn't in compliance on the Democrat side. South Carolina was always supposed to be the first primary for the Democrat presidential primary, and this is why. Because this is the state that saved Biden's campaign 4 years ago. Biden stands as the overwhelming favorite to win the South Carolina primary against comparatively weak opposition. U.S. Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota, and Marianne Williamson, an author who ran unsuccessfully in 2020. Early voting in the state began on January 22nd, and polls closed at 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Apart from the fundraising advantages that flow from incumbency, Biden is the favorite of South Carolina's Democratic establishment, notably James Clyburn, a power in Congress and a leader in the black community. And Clyburn is the reason Biden is president right now. He is a big name in South Carolina politics. He saved his campaign in 2020, and he's supporting him once again. This is why South Carolina is the state for Biden. The Democrat establishment loves him in the state. The electorate is going to be more friendly to Biden. It is going to be more African American, which, despite him polling not that good against Trump, in the primary polling, even back in 2020, this was a strong group for Biden in the primary. Again, on the Democrat side. In the general, he's not looking too good, but in the presidential primary, it is going to be a very good group for him. Biden won the New Hampshire primary last month, but the result is largely symbolic. In drawing up the official primary calendar, Democrat officials put South Carolina first. New Hampshire jumped the line against the party's wishes, and as a consequence, its delegates may not count in the final tally. So yeah, New Hampshire said, go F yourself. We're going to go first. So their delegates are not going to count, more than likely. But this is why South Carolina is first officially. That's why it's a bit of a confusing situation where New Hampshire is always first, but the Democrat Party said no. It was a mess. Biden hopes to win South Carolina by a whopping margin, which might infuse a candidacy with more energy and help deflect attention from his low standing in public opinion polls. He made repeated visits to South Carolina in the run-up to the election, including a stop last month at the church in Charleston where white supremacists murdered 9 worshippers in 2015. Yeah, of course I'd bring that up, but whatever. Either way, he is putting a lot of effort into the state of South Carolina compared to New Hampshire. I mean, he did nothing in New Hampshire. I mean, he's done more events in South Carolina, I think, than any other state. And that's why. It's the state that they're banking everything on. But it does come with a big risk, which we will get to in a second. Black voters account for a majority of South Carolina's Democratic electorate. In campaign speeches, Biden has been highlighting his efforts to improve their lives, mentioning his administration's aid to historically black colleges and programs to erase student loan debt. Trump also did something similar, but just not going to mention that. Not loan forgiveness, but he did do something for black colleges. Either way, this right here is why Biden is going to do good in South Carolina, at least on paper. Like I said, black voters are the majority of the vote in the South Carolina primary on the Democrat side. But there is a risk with the strategy. We've seen the polling. For whatever reason, his biggest collapse has come from African American voters. Based on every polling, he's only like 60% approval. Remember, he won 90% of them back in 2020. That's a 30-point shift. So, listen, he's going to win this vote. Absolutely. The question is, how enthusiastic are they? If there's no one showing up and the electorate, has really bad turnout, number one, that ain't good for Biden. These should be your voters that you need. Let's face it, you need these voters in the state of, say, Georgia. And I know this is South Carolina, but South Carolina will be a good indicator to see how enthusiastic are these voters really. If they're not going to come out and vote for you in a primary, or he does horrible with them, like let's say he doesn't crack 70%, which in my opinion, if he doesn't get 70%, he's done. More like 80%, but 70% in South Carolina should be the bare minimum. Considering how favorable of an electorate it is, Biden cannot afford to do worse than 70, let alone probably 80. Because if he does worse than 70, he has a problem. That's a sign of A, low enthusiasm, and B, Democrats not happy with them. But this is a situation where I still think that at the end of the day, Biden will win the Democrat primary in South Carolina by quite a bit. Gratitude between the president and South Carolina runs both ways. Biden's 2020 campaign was on the verge of unraveling ahead of South Carolina's primary that February. He had lost badly in the 2 preceding contests in Iowa and New Hampshire. But they forgot Nevada, where he did better than expected, and Clyburn endorsed him. He won the primary, regained momentum, and eventually became president. So this is why Biden's campaign thinks, all right, we do good in South Carolina, we're done. We're done with the primary, we can finally move on. They basically already have moved on, but they just want to make sure nothing crazy happens where, hey, Dean Phillips gets like 30%. Because if that happens, Biden's in trouble. He absolutely is in trouble. Because A, Phillips has some vindication for being in the race. B, he gets delegates, and C, that might show that Biden is not doing good with Democrats at all. How do you think he's going to do with independents this year? It is a big question, but that's why they had South Carolina. They just want to make sure, all right, we get 80% of the vote, we're safe. Nothing crazy is going to happen. We're not going to lose the nomination. That's why we had South Carolina first. And also because they did that on purpose. They wanted South Carolinians to kind of like this article says, they may feel they owe Biden. I wouldn't use that word, but maybe gratitude for putting so much attention on South Carolina. I think it goes both ways, but either way, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen tonight, but I'm assuming Biden gets 80% of the vote and Dean Phillips drops out. If he doesn't get 80%, he gets like 70, some questions. If he gets 60 like he got in New Hampshire, there's a problem. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.